Hello my dear students, very good afternoon to all of you. So welcome back to chemistry class after a long time. So today we are discussing with chapter 3rd, that is metals and non-metals. And I hope so this is the only one unit remain in a part 1 of your science reader. So today we will discuss that concept. So metals and non-metals, before going to this you have studied, yes, the periodic table elements. So how those elements, because we know that so many elements are present in the periodic table, in that the elements are divided into metals and non-metals. How these can be divided then? These are divided on the basis of property, physical or chemical property. Physical means it is on the basis of nature, on the basis like melting point, boiling point, observation, state. So like that. Chemical property means when it reacts with other metals or when it reacts with other elements, on the basis of formation, that are the chemical properties. So from that, metals and non-metals can be divided on the basis of the property. The metals and non-metals can be divided. So let's study that one, physical property and chemical property of the metals and non-metals, and how the metals and non-metals are different to each other. That also we will study. So there are some points which I wrote here. So from this it will help you to understand, and even it will help you for your examination purpose also. So as metals and non-metals are there for your essay examination, so read it properly, and if you have any doubt you can ask me at any time, okay? And as I told, the metals and non-metals can be divided on the basis of their property. Then some properties we will study. So some metal property and some non-metal property also we will study. So before that, just remember some of the metals. So again you will study this one, how the metals can be differentiated by the non-metals, okay? So some of the examples we can say, because you know iron is a metal, copper, aluminium, magnesium, sodium, and Pb is the lead, okay? Pb is lead and zinc. So these are the some of the metals. So you can remember, and even you know because we have studied already, yes. So the iron is the hardest material, so we can say that that is one of the property of the iron. So it is a, as it is a solid and the hardest material, so we can say this one is the metal. And what other property, physical property, by the observation we can say that this one is the metal. How we can differentiate that one? When metal, usually the metals has a shining surface, that property is called as, the shining surface of the metal property is called as luster. So the luster is the one of the major property of the metal. That means the metals will shine its surface. So that is called as a luster property. So that point just write it down as metals in their pure state have a shining surface. This property is called as a luster. So this is the one of the physical property of the any metals. And even the metals we can say it is a hard, and it can the hardness, like iron is the most hardest substance, hardest material compared to the other metals. So it may differ from metal to metal. And even the metals has some other properties, like if you beat the metal, it can be converted into the sheets, like for example gold and silver. Did you observe gold and silver, that whenever they are making the jewelries, that time the gold is converted, the gold elements, the gold particles whatever they have collect, that will be beaten to make some jewelries, yes. So this property, this special property of the metal is called as malleability. So malleability means the metals can be beaten into the sheets, and this is the one of the best property of the metals. So that also we will make some points on the basis of that property. So just continue the points. So whatever I have explained, that the points I have written here. So metals are generally hard, and it can be changed on metal to metal. So it varies from metal to metal, and some metals are beaten into sheets. As I told, this property is called as malleability. Just write, it is called as malleability. So we'll write that one. Write it. It is called as malleable property. So malleable property of the metal, and this is malleability, we will write malleability property. and this property only helpful for us to make the jewelry. From for example, malleability property of the metal we can observe in gold and silver. And after that, ability of the metals can be drawn into a wires, which is called as ductility. And ductility is another property. So these are very important, okay? Ductility, malleability, and even a luster. Luster means it is a shining surface. Malleability means the metals can be beaten into sheets, thin sheets. And ductility means it can be drawn into thin wires or thin thread. So that the metals can be drawn, it can be extracted, it can be dragged to make a thin wire. So this property is called as ductility. So remember, malleability, luster, and the ductility property. And due to these properties of the metals, for example gold and silver, that's why due to these special properties, these are used in making of jewelries. So that we can mention here again. So just mention the reason as due to these properties, metals can be given different shapes according to our needs. So just make it down the points. And even we know that the metals are good conductor of heat and have high melting point. So that you can observe, take any iron rod and just heat it, that one, and another thing you can do, just take the candle also, okay? So when you heat that rod and just touch it to the candle, so what happens? Due to the heat present in the, that means it is a good conductor of heat. The iron will get hot because it is a good conductor of heat. When you touch that one with, if in bare hand you touch, means your hand will burn, yes? So that means the heat is produced in that. Heat is the metal is a good conductor, that's why there is a presence of heat. Due to that, our hand will burn. If you touch that one to the candle can melt, yes? So that's why we can say metals are good conductor of heat. And what about the melting point? Whether iron will melt easily? No, it has the high melting point. So we can say that the metals are good conductors. So from whatever we have studied, just remember it is a luster, malleable, and ductility property, and it is a good conductor of electricity, good conductor of heat, and it has the high melting point, and it is hard, and the hardness can be changed from one metal to the another metal compared to other metals, okay? Then which are the examples you can give for the good conductor? So silver, rather than iron, you can give silver, copper are the good conductors. And what about bad conductors? All the metals are not good conductor, okay? So some of the metals are good conductor and some are not good conductor. For example, lead is the metal and mercury is the metal. Even these two are the metals, but these are not conductor of electricity, not good conductor of electricity. So we can say that every metal is not a good conductor of, some of the metals are good conductor of electricity. So for example, silver and copper you write, and lead and mercury you can write for the poor conductor of electricity, poor conductor of heat. And another property we can say that metals produce a sound on striking a hard surface are called as a sonorous. So this is the another property of the metal. So you can observe when in some schools they are using bells, so that is made by the metals, because the metals can produce a sound when we string that one, due to the hard surface, due to the hardness of that metal, the metals can produce sonorous sounds. So the production of sound due to stringing a hard surface, that is called as sonorous. So these are some properties of the metals. From this we can recognize the elements or the chemicals which are metals in character. So this is about metals. So let's discuss about the non-metals. So for non-metals, some of the examples, proper examples which we know, that is carbon, sulfur, iodine, oxygen and hydrogen. And oxygen and hydrogen also are non-metals. And usually the non-metals are either solid or gases, except bromine, okay? So bromine is the only one which is non-metal, but it is in a liquid state. So remember that thing. So we'll write those points. Just write it as non-metal as a heading, and they write example. Okay, remember those things, remember the examples of non-metals, and they remember bromine is the non-metal which is present in the liquid state. Other than that, all non-metals are present in solid or gaseous state. As these are solid and gaseous state, what about these physical properties then? So as you already studied the properties of the metals, yes, so you know that the metals are hardest substance compared to the non-metals. So those property we can compare here. So the first one is type of the surface. So type of the surface in metals, what we wrote, the surface is very hard and shining, yes, it is a luster. So then what about non-metals? It is reverse, it is not luster, it is not shiny. Then what about hardness? And you know that now non-metals are solid or in gaseous state, yes. So solids are little bit harder, but compared to the metals, non-metals are not that much harder. Okay, and about liquid, as bromine is the only one liquid, so we can say that it is not a harder substance. And what about malleability? So it means which can be beaten into a thin sheets, yes. So whether it is possible to beat the non-metal, because these are solid and these are not that much hard compared to the metal, yes. So that means the malleability is low. And even ductile means you can drag that one to form a thin wire, yes. So even which is not possible, so we can say that less ductile compared to the metals. And what about conductors of electricity? And it is the bad conductor of electricity and sonority property, that means it will not produce that much sound, so we can say less sonority. So just write it down, okay. So just write one side metal, difference between the properties of the metals and non-metals, how we can differentiate, okay. So just write one side metal and another side non-metals. So I will tell you, okay, how to write that one. So as we know, the metals are good conductor of electricity and non-metals are bad conductor of electricity and heat. So just write that one. And metals are malleable and non-metals are, as we know, these are non-malleable, as I have explained. And these are ductile, metals are ductile and non-metals are non-ductile. And metals are luster and metals are sonorous, but non-metals are non-luster and non-sonorous. And these metals are, you know, iron, all these are at room temperature, that are solid, yes, except the mercury. You have to write that one also. Except mercury, other are solid at room temperature. The metals are solid at room temperature. And as non-metals, we know that the non-metals are solid or gas at room temperature except bromine. So you have to write. These are the differences between the metals and non-metals. I hope you have noted all the points. And even though there are some exception cases are there, so wherever the exception will come, just remember those things, okay, because that exceptions are very important. Because everything is same, from that one is different means that every time that will be recognized. So that's why the exception will come in chemistry too much. So that exception came means it is very important to study. So that is the exceptions related to the non-metals properties. So that we can say, so we will make the points and we will discuss that one. So first is mercury. Mercury can be represented as Hg, the symbolic representation of the mercury, okay. So which is liquid at room temperature. Why it is exception? Because we know that the non-metals are either in gaseous state or solid state, but mercury is the liquid at room temperature. So this is the one of the exception. And even gallium and cesium have low melting points. Usually these have high melting points, non-metals, but gallium and cesium have low melting points. And about iodine, and we know that the non-metals are non-lustrous, that means these are not shining, non-metals are not shining, but if you observe the iodine compound, this is shining. So this is the one of the exception of non-metal property. And carbon, you know that these have the allotropes. So carbon has the diamond and graphite, which is the allotrope of the carbon. And allotrope means it exists in a different form. So the carbon can be arranged itself to become a diamond and a graphite. So which is the allotrope of the carbon. The diamond and the graphite are the allotrope of the carbon. So diamond is a very hardest natural substances. Hard means what? It has the highest melting point. It is not easy to melt that one. So it has high melting point and even boiling point. And about graphite, it has the property of conducting electricity, good conductor of electricity. So as we know, as diamond and graphite is the allotrope of carbon, and carbon is the non-metal. Yes, so if carbon is a non-metal, then it should have the property of non-metal, as it should not have the you can say it is not a good conductor of electricity, and it is not it doesn't have the high melting point. But if you observe the diamond and graphite, which is the allotrope of carbon, which has the high melting point and boiling point, and even it is a good conductor of electricity. That's why it is the one of the exception case. And other than that, alkali metals, as you have observed, these are the non-metals. And alkali metals like sodium, potassium and lithium are soft, means it is like a powder crystals. So when as it is a soft, means you can cut. Sodium is a solid substance. Okay, so sodium and potassium are a little bit solid substance, and it is like a metal, and we can piece those things. It is like rubbery substance. So if you cut from the knife or any other substances, it can be easily break. So we can say that one as a one of the exception case of non-metals. And these have the sodium and potassium have the low density and melting point. Even there is so this sodium and potassium is highly reactive with air. So that's why these are kept in a kerosene oil. So that again we will study afterwards in next class or in next unit maybe. But just remember, this sodium and potassium are highly reactive to the air. Due to that reason, these are kept in kerosene. And these are the some exception cases what we have studied. Exception cases of non-metals on the basis of their properties. Okay, so let's move towards next concept, that is chemical properties of. Now we have studied physical properties of the metals and non-metals. Again we will move towards chemical properties of metals. So before that, there is a one point related to metals and non-metals. So that we have studied is, non-metal produces acidic oxide when dissolved in water, and metal gives rise to basic oxides. That you have studied in acid base. So you can remember, just make it the point as non-metals produce acidic oxides when dissolved in water, and metal gives rise to basic oxides. Just write it down, those 2 points. Then we write the heading as chemical properties of the metals. And in that, first we will study what happens when metal are burnt in air. So when metal reacts with air, what is the reaction and what it gives, so that we will study. And almost all the metals reacts with oxygen. Okay, so air means it is oxygen. Whenever any metal reacts with oxygen, it will give the product as metal oxide. Or so almost all metals reacts with air, or you can say in presence of air, or you can say it reacts with the oxygen. So as I told you, every metal reacts with the oxygen to give an metal oxide. So for example, consider copper as the one metal which reacts with oxygen to give copper oxide. So you have to balance the equation. Yes, it is a copper oxide and oxygen you have 2, means you have to take 2 here. Now it is balanced, but 2 copper means you have to take copper 2. So always you should write a balanced equation. So copper, the metal reacts with oxygen to give an copper oxide. And I hope you know how to write the equation, how to write a chemical formula. So as it is a copper oxide, so what you want? Copper oxide. Yes, so copper oxide. Then for this you want, one is copper, another one is the oxygen. And copper has a valency you studied, and even you wrote in activity also. Yes, So what is the valency of copper? +2 or +3. So +2. And what about oxygen? It has -2. And as the valencies is 2 and 2, and you have to cross multiply these things. Okay, you have to cross multiply. Now you can observe CuO as Cu2 and O2. That means it will get cancelled. So the remaining is CuO. So this is the copper oxide formula. So I hope all of you have studied and even you know how to write the chemical equation. So this is the method how to write the chemical equation. Some of the examples we will see. So it will help you to understand the concept easily. So just I will write it as extra. Okay, so extra how to write the chemical equation. This is not related to this one, just I am recalling the concepts. So one of the example we will take hydrogen sulfide. So hydrogen sulfide. So hydrogen, you know, H, sulfide is S. Then what about the valency of hydrogen? That is +1. So sulfide, it is 2. Must and should you should learn the valency, how to take the valency. For that you should know atomic number of the elements. Okay, so now you have to cross multiply. So it is H2S1. So it can be written as H2S. So this is the formula of hydrogen sulfide. Another 2-3 examples we will observe. So another one, what we can take, magnesium chloride we will consider. Magnesium, you have studied these things, magnesium chloride. So what is the chemical formula of symbolic representation of magnesium? So Mg. And what about chlorine? So Cl. So now the magnesium has the valency of +2. And what about chlorine? It has -1. So you have to cross multiply. So as it is Mg1 and Cl2, yes. So that can be written as MgCl2. So this is the chemical formula of magnesium chloride. Another one we will consider, which one? Calcium hydroxide. Calcium hydroxide. I hope all of you know these things. Calcium Ca, hydroxide is OH, and calcium valency is +2, and hydroxide it is -1. OH, okay, hydroxide -1. So if you cross multiply, so don't worry about the sign. -1 means it is a negative term. So valency, when you are writing valency, you are not writing +2 -1 like that. So just cross multiply Ca1 and OH2. That means this OH is related to both the terms, oxygen also, hydrogen also, because it is a hydroxide. That time you have to write calcium in bracket OH twice. So this is calcium hydroxide. Just practice these things. So just I recalled you how to write the chemical formula. Now again we will come back to our equation, that is metal oxide. How to write the copper? When copper reacts with oxygen, it will give a copper oxide, and you must and should you write a balanced equation. So some of the other example we will observe. Aluminium plus oxide. So it is aluminium oxide. So that is Al. So aluminium oxide. Now you know that the aluminium has +3 valency. Oxygen has 2. So cross multiply. So oxygen 2 will come to the aluminium. Aluminium +3 will come to the oxygen. So Al2O3, the O3 is the aluminium oxide. But observe the equation, balanced equation, whether it is balanced or no. Aluminium is 2 here. So here it is 1. So that means you have to balance here. Then oxygen, what about oxygen? So it is 3, here 2. First you balance the oxygen, because if you balance the oxygen here, you just consider here 3, here 2. Now check 3 2s are 6. 3 2s are 6. Aluminium 2 into 2, that is 4. So we can balance 4. So now it is balanced. 4 aluminium, 4 aluminium, 3 2s are 6 oxygen. So 3 2s are 6 oxygen. So now it is balanced. Now it is okay. So some of the important points are given, as in previous class also we have observed. The copper oxide reacts with hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid means HCl. So when copper reacts with HCl, it will give copper chloride. So you have studied this equation, yes. So when copper reacts with HCl, it will give copper chloride, yes, plus. So just write it down, okay. I have written here copper oxide reacts with HCl to give copper chloride and H2O. So copper is, chlorine is 2, you have to balance the chlorine, so 2 chlorine, now it is okay. Hydrogen is 2, okay. Then oxygen is 1, copper is 1, now it is balanced equation. So this you have studied, yes, in previous acid base chapter. So such aluminium oxide and zinc oxide, so these are the some. So you can observe here, this is the copper oxide, yes. So when it reacts with acid, so there is a formation of salt plus water. So when there is a formation of salt plus water, when it is a neutralized reaction. So did you remember neutralization reaction? So when it is a neutralized reaction, when acid reacts with base, that time you will get salt plus water, which is called as your neutralization or neutralized reaction. When acid plus base reacts to give a salt plus water, that is called as a neutralizer reaction. And now observe here, this is the copper oxide and it reacts with acid to give salt and water. That means as it is a HCl, you know that this is the acid. So what about this then? This is acting like base. Yes, so it is acting like base. That means it is a metal oxide which is acting as a base here. So that only they have explained here. Copper oxide reacts with HCl. We have learned that the metal oxides are basic in nature. But some metal oxides, so as we know the metal oxides are basic in nature, but some of the metal oxide like aluminium oxide and zinc oxide both shows acidic and basic behavior. So this is very important. Some of the metals like aluminium oxide and zinc oxide reacts to give a salt plus water. So where from that we can confirm that it is a acidic in nature. The oxides are acidic in nature and these will show acidic also, basic behavior also. These will show acidic and basic both behavior, and such metal oxides which reacts with both acid as well as the base to produce the salt and water are known as amphoteric oxides. So amphoteric oxides are nothing but the metal oxides which react with both acid and base, which can react with acid and base to produce a salt plus water. That is a neutralized reaction. So this can be called as amphoteric nature of a oxides. So for example, you can observe aluminium oxide as it is a metal oxide. When it reacts with HCl, aluminium chloride is a salt plus water. So it is a salt plus water. So as it is the acid, then it is a base. Yes, so this is the base plus acid. So here aluminium is acting as the base. Now you observe here, this is the aluminium oxide reacting with the base. So if it is a base means it is a acid. It is forming an sodium aluminate. So this is one of the different base. Okay, sodium aluminate, different salt aluminate plus water. So here you observe the base reacting with aluminium oxide. This aluminium oxide reacting here as a acid. That means here it is acid, here it is a base. So it shows the different character. It shows that sometime it shows acidic character, sometime it is showing basic character to produce salt plus water. So whenever the question asked like what do you mean by the amphoteric oxides, so you have to write the definition and you have to write the example with balanced equation. Okay, so this is about metals when reacts with air, or we can say oxygen. If the question is given like air also, you have to write same equation. If the question is given in presence of oxygen, that time also it is same. And even there are some property, most metal oxides are insoluble in water, but some of these dissolved in water to form alkali. So alkali, you know that almost metal oxides are insoluble, but some of the metal oxides are alkali. It will form alkali. Means it get dissolved in water. So for sodium oxide and potassium oxide dissolved. So sodium and potassium are highly reactive metals. Okay, so these will react vigorously. So that's why these will dissolve. These can be get dissolved in water to give sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide. Sodium oxides and potassium oxides react with water to give sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide. So till now whatever you have studied, that is discuss it here again. So different metal shows different reactivity towards oxygen. Metals such as potassium and sodium reacts vigorously and they catch fire kept to open. As I told previously only, so potassium, sodium are very reactive. If you keep that one openly in the air means it can catch a fire. So that's why always in a laboratory we are keeping the sodium and potassium in a kerosene, because kerosene protect that one to react with the oxygen. So this is very important, so you can make the point from this. The metals such as potassium and sodium reacts vigorously with oxygen. So to prevent that one we are keeping that one in kerosene oil. And another thing, the surfaces of the metal such as magnesium, this you have studied in the first unit. The magnesium, aluminum, zinc and the lead are covered with a thin layer of oxide. That means if it is a zinc metal, ribbon is there, or lead or any other metals, aluminum, like that, if it reacts with oxygen, what happens, the cover is covered by the, so it will vigorously react with the oxygen. So that's why what they will do, they will take a layer of oxide. So that means if there is a formation of a layer, the inside whatever the metal is there, that will not get reacted with other oxygen. Yes, only the upper layer will get reacted. So that's why they are covering with a layer of oxide. So that does not burn on heating, but iron fillings, but yes, iron will not burn on heating. Okay, iron will not easily get burnt, but when you observe the iron fillings, so when you will take the iron fillings, if you that one throw into the fire, that time it will catch the fire. Okay, so it will burn in the fire. So we can say the iron fillings are vigorously reacts in flame. And copper does not burn, but hot metals is coated with a black colored layer, copper 2 oxides. So copper, as it is a metal, it will not burn, but if you observe the copper wire or any other things, when you heat, there is a formation of black color coat that we have observed in our first activity. So there the copper get changed to black color. That is due to copper reacted with the oxygen. So it is a formation of a copper oxide. So just make some points from that. And another thing, silver and gold, as these are the metals, these will not react to the oxygen and even at high temperature. So that's why due to that property only these are used. Otherwise what happens, the silver and gold if reacts with oxygen means, so the jewelry whatever they will make, that will vigorously react with oxygen and it will become black, as it is a metal oxide formation. So which is the good property of silver and gold, which is not reactive with the oxygen. So that's why these are chosen as the jewelry elements. So silver and gold will not react with oxygen, so that's why these are used in the jewelry. So till now whatever we have discussed, that is for your syllabus. So just read it down and the points write in your point book. If you have any doubt, you can ask with me, and there are some questions you can write the answers for this, and write the answer and send it to me for these answers. So whatever I have discussed, that only it is there. So just write the answer and send it to me.